He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. WGC, welcome back to the channel. God bless. Thank you for rocking with your boy. It's truly appreciated. Before I get started with this video, I just want to acknowledge that the wrestling world lost two major names in the wrestling community. One being the hardcore legend Terry Funk, and the other being the amazingly brilliant Bray Wyatt, aka Wyndham Rotunda. Loss is never an easy thing to deal with. I can attest to that myself. I just want to send some prayers of comfort and peace out to those families, and also the fans like myself who were affected by these losses. So heartfelt thank yous and condolences go out to both Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. You will be truly missed. Rest well and God bless. Personally, the best way I know how to show love is to honor and cherish the very sport that they made famous. So with that being said, WGC, let's work. Environmental interactions are responsible for some of the craziest spots in the professional wrestling landscape. And in my personal opinion, the only thing better than seeing these spots in real life is actually being able to pull them off in your favorite wrestling games. So in this one, we're going to talk about some of the best environmental interactions that I would love to see make their way into the WWE 2K series. When it comes to arena-specific interactions, my mind immediately goes to King of the Ring 2001, Shane versus Kurt Angle. In this match, they pull off one of the sickest spots probably in WWE history. When Angle suplexed Shane through that glass plating on the entrance ramp.
The ring and beat him. Oh, not again. Oh,
this would just be one of those dope spots to have in the game, man. Not to mention, it does not help that AEW Fight Forever kind of already beat them to it. So they definitely need to try their best to get it in the game as soon as possible. Another interesting spot that I would love to see is just being able to climb the Titantron. One of the most noteworthy times that this spot has taken place came at Backlash 2001, coincidentally featuring none other than Shane McMahon again.
don't do it, Shane. Don't do it. Oh, my God.
And the real ones know, man, this is not a new concept. Back in the SmackDown Here Comes the Pain days, we were able to climb the SmackDown fist and do some pretty amazing things. So I would just like to see this make its debut in the WWE 2K series. And speaking of the old SmackDown stage setting, I think this would be a perfect time to kind of segue into talking about some of the more era-specific environmental interactions. Like, for example, maybe if we go backstage during the Golden Era, we'll run into things like The Undertaker's funeral parlor, or maybe even Brutus the Barber Beefcake's barbershop. Maybe we could even put our opponents through a certain glass-plated window like a certain legend that we know. I would just love to have different environmental interactions based on the show that we're currently on, the arena that we might be in, and even factoring in the different eras. Like, how crazy would it be to be able to go backstage during the Attitude Era and see the whole APA setup with Farouk and Bradshaw playing poker in the background? Imagine being able to Irish whip your opponent into the poker table and then causing the APA to beat them down for interrupting their poker game. And this is just one example. I would love to have more interactions with wrestlers that are in the background or maybe not necessarily involved in your current match. Like feeding off the APA example. What if we have another backstage situation to where like you could throw your opponent into Undertaker's motorcycle and causing them to knock it over, only to have Taker pop up and maybe give them a choke slam for their troubles. On the same note, seeing your opponent crashing into Brock Lesnar backstage, it's a one-way trip to Suplex City. I know I can't be the only one to feel like interactions like these are a big part of what make these games so fun. And I for one would kind of love to see them get back to that. Another area that I would love to see some major improvements be made is when it comes to different match type interactions. Now, I already did a very extensive Royal Rumble wishlist video. Do me a favor, check that one out and let me know what you guys think about that one. I think it's some pretty cool stuff in there. But in keeping with the theme, there's just a ton of different match types that could really benefit from having more of those said environmental interactions. Like, just take a lot of the multi-man matches, the triple threats and the fatal four ways. We should be able to do a whole lot more in terms of offense and defense, not just in terms of interacting with opponents, but also in terms of interacting with the environment as well as our surroundings. And shout out to Brian Williams, because I do believe he mentioned this in a previous interview where he was talking about maybe having suicide dives, being able to take out multiple opponents. We definitely need that kind of stuff in the game. But in addition to those things, I would love to be able to have a 3D through the table, or a 2-man concerto, or maybe even having the Shields triple power bump through the announce table. That's one of the primary points of a multi-man match, is to not only be able to use those numbers in your favor by way of double team and triple team attacks, but also having ways to neutralize those numbers and take out multiple opponents when necessary. One thing that would definitely help out with multi-man interactions is having more ways to initiate them. Like take the double moves, for instance, like having to Irish whip your opponents in the corner just to pull off something like a double AA is very limited. Like, why not be able to, if one opponent is down and you drag the other one near him, allow us to initiate it that way. That way it just gives us more opportunities to pull these moves off. The drag and carry system would be another great way to be able to initiate double team moves. So say if I have my opponent in the power bomb position and then another guy comes over and grapples while I have him held up, then maybe we could do something like a spike power bomb or something. Now, using the exact same powerbomb carry scenario, if I have my opponent in the powerbomb carry position and another opponent is down on the mat, I should be able to carry one opponent over to the downed opponent and maybe powerbomb him on top of the downed opponent, hurting both guys. Sometimes improvements can be as simple as maximizing what you already have. It doesn't always have to be a reinventing the wheel situation. Now, in terms of the other match types, like I said earlier, there is a lot of room for improvement for a majority of them. But a match type I wanted to highlight mainly because it's been so long since it's actually had any improvements. And I also feel like that it's probably one of the easiest to fix in terms of creativity, and that being the ladder match. My advice to 2K would just simply be to go back and check out some of those old SmackDown versus Raw games, and even going back into the SmackDown Here Comes the Pain days, and just copy and paste. Because the main issues with the ladder match is just simply due to the lack of interactions with the ladder. Like if you go back and look at those old games, you can see like we could place our opponents on the ladder. We could wedge them in between the ladder. We could do finishers off the top of the ladder. There were even animations that had you place the ladder on top of your opponent and then perform diving moves on top of the ladder. There was just a lot of variety and creativity when it came to using ladders back in the old games. Also, the ability to be able to jump from one standing ladder to the next would be pretty cool as well. The point is, improving a ladder match in terms of creativity is not really a difficult thing because, as I said, you already have a blueprint in place. So I imagine the most challenging thing will be trying to find a way to implement these features. Bottom line is we just need a lot more interactions in these games in terms of environmental and just interactions in general. Because as I said, these are a big part of authenticity, and I can't stress this enough, but they are a huge part of what makes these games fun. WGC, sound off in the comments and let me know what interactions you guys would personally like to see in the WWE 2K series moving forward. Also, if there are any match types that you guys would personally like to see me do a video on, drop it down in the comments. Thank y'all for watching, and until next time, God bless.